what is your opinion about the environment in Vietnam?
It's actually pretty polluted here, to be honest. I went for a run, and all I know is my throat started itching.
It's manageable.
I think the one thing I noticed is people wearing masks outside, which we're not used to in Canada. We don't usually wear masks unless it was for COVID.
Chào bạn, lại là mình dưới đây. Thì ngày hôm nay mình sẽ đi hỏi một số vị khách ở trên phố đi bộ để hỏi họ nghĩ như thế nào về môi trường ở Việt Nam. Nhưng trước khi bắt đầu video thì các bạn hãy nhớ bấm like, bấm subscribe và đừng quên bấm chuông để nhận được những thông báo mới nhất từ kênh của mình. Và nếu bạn có bất kỳ bình luận nào muốn gửi đến cho chúng mình thì hãy bình luận ở dưới video để chúng mình cùng nhận được nhé. Còn bây giờ thì đi thôi. So my name is Lee, and can I know your name?
My name is Hun.
Hun?
Hun, bro.
And where are you from?
I'm from the U.S., but I live in Malaysia.
Oh, you live in Malaysia?
Yeah.
So you were born in US, and so when you moved to live in Malaysia?
Oh man, I moved to Malaysia about 7 years ago, and from there I've lived pretty much all over the world. And as of right now, I finally got back to Malaysia post-COVID. Now I'm just visiting Vietnam for a little while.
So why you choosing Malaysia as a place for living?
I play football.
Oh, you play football?
I do.
Oh, so right. So
Yeah,
you play for
yeah.
a national team? Or...
I'm sure I want to, but first I got to be a national, right?
I love it. So I mean, this is the first time that I interview people from US. So
Okay.
mostly I interview people from Australian or something like that.
Solid.
But I kind of surprised that you living in Malaysia. So how many country in Southeast Asia that you
Have I been to?
visit?
Thailand,
Thailand.
Singapore,
Sing-
Indonesia. First time being in Vietnam. This is actually my first week in Vietnam, and I leave tonight. So this is crazy. Southeast Asia. Anywhere else? Cambodia. Nope. That's really it. Yeah, just the bottom of Southeast Asia.
So you seem to travel a lot in here.
Yeah, man.
I'm kind of surprised about that. So how long you decide to stay in Vietnam?
I was only here for a football tournament, and so I was supposed to only be here for the weekend. But I thought if I'm gonna come all this way, I might as well stay for a little bit of time. So that's why I decided to stay for a whole week, and I leave tonight.
So the week in only in Hanoi or also other?
Only Hanoi. I mean,
Oh,
Ha Long Bay, those like little jumping spots. But for the most part, I've been here in the city center.
okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, so what do you think about the environment in Vietnam for as a traveler? The first time you've been here?
Well, when you say the environment, I need to confirm. Do you mean this environment, or do you mean like the nature outside of?
Anything that you can think about nature, about the air, about the traffic noise, anything that you
Okay,
can
fair
feel about.
enough. So it's actually pretty freaking polluted. Come. It's actually pretty polluted here, to be honest. I went for a run, and all I know is my throat started itching. I'm just like, God damn. And then I was sitting on a rooftop, and you know when you begin to look at the sunset and all those beautiful colors, that's because it's high levels of pollution. And so I was just like, wow, that's beautiful. That's so destructive. And so that's a big problem. But comparatively to other places that I've been, Vietnam is a beautiful. Well, I can only speak for Hanoi. Hanoi is beautiful. I mean, it reminds me of a little bit of France. It has that beautiful mise en scène compared to Malaysia, which is very straightforward. I find the culture of Vietnam to be absolutely beautiful. People are really opening and friendly. But when it comes to the nature, Halong Bay, beautiful. What's the chances of those structures when it comes to the rocks? I don't even know how it can form in such a way. I don't know what the erosion does, but it's really dope. I need to explore the outskirts more because the city never gives you all you really need to know about the place. The city is only the city. So that's what I have to say.
Oh, I love to hear that. So you live in Malaysian, right? So
I
do
do.
you feel any difference between Vietnam and Malaysians?
Do I see any difference between Vietnamese and the Malaysians? The
Yes.
people or the place?
The both. You can answer the both if you can.
Okay. People wise, because it's only Vietnamese people, a lot of people only really speak Vietnamese. You know, they don't have that English proficiency like you see in Malaysia because Malaysia has Chinese, Malays, Indians, and so everybody has to be able to mingle together. And if you don't speak the basis language, which is either Malay, Bahasa Melayu, or English, you're screwed. Here, you can speak English if you're going to work with tourists, But if you're not and you're only amongst other Vietnamese people, there's no real need to speak English, so it's hard to really integrate into those pockets of society. I'm trying to learn the language,
I know it.
Shin Chao Chi, all that good stuff. But it's not enough to really get the true cultural feel. The way I see the people moving though is everybody's trying to help everybody out. So that's always cool. And I mean, being from America, we have a pretty long history with Vietnam.
Yes.
But even then, I don't feel like people dislike me per se because of the past. It's kind of like the past is the past, but we are here in the present. So that's dope. That's dope. When it comes to the difference in the place, I find Vietnam to have a lot more fashionable sense than Malaysia. I mean, y'all can dress, and I believe that's because the French were here, and so you guys have like the berets and the coffee shops and a lot of French influence. So that's pretty cool, as well as y'all are a lot more open. If you go to the club, the people, the women, the vibe is a lot more friendly. You feel me on that? Malaysia is a very Muslim country, so people have to be a lot more reserved. Women cannot be as open with men that they don't know as women in Vietnam can be with men that they don't know. So I can always appreciate that. Uh, Chinese the same. Their culture doesn't allow for them to really be as free with people they don't know. And Indians, oh my God, they really cannot be out there. So being here, I feel like I can be freer to talk amongst the people and be amongst the people as long as they can understand what I'm saying. Racism isn't a problem here. I haven't dealt with it, but I don't deal with racism really anywhere I go because I have what's called black privilege.
Okay, so talk about the environment. So what is the biggest thing that we should improve for in Hanoi or in Vietnam in general? Big thing that we should improve it.
The biggest thing that you should improve, well, that's a very loaded question because who is we? Because the people, the
But
individual
you can
person.
think about it. About you. About
Okay,
for
so
your opinion.
the individual person can't really do too much. I mean, what do I say? Stop using straws, stop using paper and plastic. It's nothing that much that you guys can really do because it's a bigger issue than the individual. I like that people ride motorcycles. In Malaysia, we don't ride motorcycles. We do cars everywhere. We ride motorcycles, but not like Grab and InDriver and all that type of stuff. So you can appreciate the try ability you guys are trying to do. People walk, people eat healthier. So that means you don't have as many fat people, which means that the people ultimately don't eat as much food, which helps the environment. So there's little things that you guys are doing which I can see that most people would overlook.
Okay, so I think that's enough for the interview. So thank you for taking interview with me.
Solid.
But by the way, can I know the name of the football team that you are playing for?
Okay, we are called the Barbarians, Malaysia Barbarians.
The Malaysian Barbarian.
Yes, sir. Shout out to y'all.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you for taking interview with me. So my name is Z, and can I know your name, both of you?
I'm Laura,
And I'm David. David, yes. So where are you from?
Canada.
Both come from Canada. Yes. Oh, so how long you decide to stay in Hanoi, and is this your first time here?
First time in Vietnam in Hanoi, and we are here for 4 nights.
For now.
Yeah.
And only in Hanoi.
We went to Halong Bay already, and we also went to Ho Chi Minh.
So 1 day in Hanoi, 1 day in Halong, and the rest-
4 days in Hanoi,
Oh,
3 days in Halong Bay, and 2 nights in Ho Chi Minh.
oh, so about 1 week.
Yes.
Total 1 week.
Yes.
Oh. So this is the first time you've been to a country in Southeast Asian, or you also travel the other one?
We also went to Thailand.
And we're going to be going to Singapore, but I've been to China a few times already, and Laura's been to Southeast Asia plenty of times.
Yeah.
So I have a question that so what do you feel about the environment of Vietnam as a traveler first time come here?
Environment, like the cultural environment, or the
Like the natural
environment.
like you can
Pollution, things like
yes,
this.
exactly.
Of Vietnam or of Hanoi?
Vietnam or Hanoi is for you. You can, what do you,
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, it's okay for a major city and for how many vehicles you have on the road. Like when we were in New York, it was way worse. I've been to Beijing. Beijing's environment is awful. Like you had to wear a mask. Like you couldn't see, a building that's like 20 meters ahead of you because it was that smoggy. So it's okay. I mean, it obviously can be better. I think you're in the high right now for smog and pollution, but it's manageable.
I think the one thing I notice is people wearing masks outside, which we're not used to in Canada. We don't usually wear masks unless it was for COVID. So it's a little surprising to me to see people wearing masks to avoid inhaling the air. But in terms of me personally, I think David, I don't think we've had a negative impact of the air in that way. Like we feel okay, like nothing has hurt our health in any way. But yeah, you see a little bit of the smog and the pollution in the air for sure. Yeah.
So we have to wear the mask because you see, about 60 to 70% of Vietnamese people is using a motorbike,
Yeah.
and a lot of motorbike that causing a lot of it's making the air become pollution.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
why we have to wearing a mask, or we're gonna get a lot of bad thing to us.
Yeah. Maybe for a short period of time, it's okay. Like us, right? We're here for only 10 a week,
Yes.
so it's okay. But I could see how anybody who lives here, they have to wear a mask to protect themselves. Yeah.
So as a foreigner from Canada, what is the biggest difference between your country and our country?
The biggest difference, environmental or anything?
Anything that you can.
I think the biggest shock to us was probably the driving.
Oh,
Just
that's right.
trying to
Like a
cross the
mess.
street. Yeah, it's kind of chaotic. It's also a bit of an adventure to try to cross the street.
Yeah, back home, we have, I guess, very strict rules as to when you can cross the roads. When the light's red, you stop. Here, to kind of cross the road, I almost feel like you have to close your eyes and just walk carefully and hope nobody hits you. So that's really been the big thing.
Yeah, and I think in terms of positives, we're really pleasantly surprised by the people are very, very nice here. The food is amazing, delicious. So there's a lot of great things that would draw us here, and even just the scenery. Like Halong Bay was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, and even Hanoi as a city, it's very neat to see the French architecture
that's
with
right, like
and the Asian influence all coming together. So it's very different. Looks, culture, everything, but in good ways and bad ways, but mostly good. I think we've had a very good experience.
So when you travel here, why you choosing Vietnam or any country in Southeast Asia as a place for traveler?
I think because it's so different from Canada, for me, for us, it's very easy to go to the United States. But the US is the exact, like, very similar to Canada. Whereas countries in Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, they're so different. You feel the difference in so many ways. And I think that's interesting. I don't want to do the exact same thing I can do in Canada. I want to experience what other cultures experience. And I think it's important to try to understand other cultures because you can hear things about different countries, but until you come to see it for yourself, you don't know how different we are, but also how similar we are in many ways.
So thank you for taking interview with us.
Yeah. Thank
Okay, so thank you for taking interview with me. So my name is Sri, and can I know your name?
My name is Krasimir.
So where are you from?
I'm Bulgarian.
Sorry?
Bulgarian.
Bulgarian. Oh. So is it the first time you've been to
It's
Vietnam?
my first time in Vietnam, yes.
So how long did you decide to stay in Vietnam?
I'll be staying for about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So where do you go in Vietnam?
My first day is today in Hanoi, and after that, I'll go to
Sapa.
Satpa, and Halong Bay,
Ah.
and then further south to Da Nang, Hoi An, and then to Ho Chi Minh City.
Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah.
So, for the question is, what is your opinion about the environment in Vietnam? So, how do you feel about the environment of Vietnam? About the natural, about air, about the traffic noise, or anything that you can feel about that?
Well, it's only my first day today, but just landing with the airplane, it's kind of very green, very warm. I think it country has very beautiful nature, interesting plants and trees, and different types of animals that we don't have in Europe. So I think that's quite interesting. I think maybe experience it in some of the more remote areas, so outside of the big cities, would be quite interesting going forward.
And Hanoi, yeah, it's a little bit like I imagine. It's a big city. It's a lot of people, a lot of traffic. For European standards, it's a little bit chaotic. Like
Okay.
just that experience, here crossing a busy
Crossing.
street at
Everyone
rush
gets
hour.
problem with
You
that.
just need to, close your eyes and just go through and hope nothing happens. For instance, I wouldn't be comfortable driving here. I think you guys are kind of born or on motorcycles,
Yes.
kind of, so you're really into it. But to me, it would be just too much of a hazard. I wouldn't have the confidence to do it here, really. But it's looks quite modern, quite developed. You have good streets, good infrastructure. It's pretty clean for a city of that size, I would say. So yeah, for a first impression, I think it's also a little bit typical, maybe also for an Asian city, that it's more condensed. You have a lot of people, a lot of traffic, but it more or less matches my expectations. Yeah.
So why are you choosing Vietnam as a destination for travel?
It's an interesting country. It's a very different country. I haven't been much to Southeast Asia, to be honest. Apart from Vietnam, I've only been to Japan, which is a little bit different, I guess. So just wanted to experience something different and have kind of a mix of culture, nature, but also a young country which is kind of developing with a very young population, with also a different social structure, which is something I haven't experienced. Bulgaria used to be a socialist country,
Yes.
but I'm born in 1990, so I didn't experience that time. So it's interesting to see how a country has developed also as part of this system compared to, let's say, European democracy.
Okay. So, so how many countries in Southeast Asia that you travel? Or Vietnam is only country
Vietnam and Japan are the only kind of
in
Asian
in
countries
Asia?
that I've been to. And apart from that, I've been a lot of places in Europe and the Americas and Australia, but Asia is a little bit of a white spot on my travel map.
So in the future, do you have any plan for travel the other country in Southeast Asia like Indonesia, Singapore, or something like that?
Certainly, yeah, it's interesting to go. Certainly, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, maybe Cambodia, even your neighboring country. So why not? If I have time going forward, I think it's an interesting place to visit.
Okay, so for the last question, so what do you think? What is the most biggest thing, the different thing between your country and our country? The different culture or something like that.
I think it's different culture and different traditions, and yeah. But apart from that, I do see a lot of similarities as well. Certainly, Vietnam catching up and being actually quite close in terms of infrastructure, social governance, etc. to what we have in Europe. Yeah, I'm a Bulgarian and I live in Germany, nevertheless. So I have spent about 20 years of my life also in a place which is, let's say, a little bit more chaotic and developing compared to Germany, where I live now. So it's not something totally unfamiliar to me. And I know this transition that typically lasts also a few years. Countries that are still kind of developing and catching up with more, industrialized societies that have had this kind of development for many decades.
So I think that's enough for our interview today. So thank you for taking the interview with
You're
me.
welcome. Good luck with your video.
Thank you.